TikTok, you're bang on time for the Daily Report. Thank you for joining us on today's installment. My name is Debarl, Inea. Today on the program, we'll be focusing on the state of the economy, and we shall be looking at the blowback of the Middle East war, what is happening currently biting on us, as well as the fuel shortage persists. But for now, let's see what we have in the highlights. Tonight, several fuel stations in the country faced with fuel crunch crisis as MPs summon Energy CS Opiyo Wandayi over the fuel scandal. Also tonight, President William Ruto faced off with his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua during the burial of MP David Kiaraho in Olkalau. Plus, Vihiga Senator Godfrey Osotsi attacked by goons at Western Mall in Kisumu. CCTV footage shows the moment armed goons confront and attack Vihiga Senator Osotsi at Java House. And Australian national is seeking justice after he was allegedly defrauded over 78 million shillings in a sophisticated gold scam. Welcome to the broadcast, and on the sign language desk is Rachel Nyamai. Now, President William Ruto and his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua came face to face in Olkalau, Nyandarua County during the public funeral service of area MP David Kiaraho, where they shared their podium for the first time since Gachagua's impeachment. The politically charged burial degenerated into a war of words on Gachagua's impeachment, the battle to control the Mount Kenya region at the 2027 presidential election contest, with the two leaders dressing down each other in public. Apollos Kamau starts us off.
President William Ruto and his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua turned the funeral service of Olkalau MP David Kiaraho into a political battleground, with tension evident from the onset as the two leaders sat meters apart while sharing the podium for the first time since Gachagua's impeachment.
Kweli ulinitoa kwa ofisi, lakini kunitoa kwa roho za hii watu ni kibarua. Kunitoa kwa roho ya hii watu ya mlima ni kama kukata miti ya mugumo na wembe.
Mimi naelewa nilipigiwa kura na watu wa mlima. I understand that. Mimi si wazimu na mimi si mjinga na mimi si mlevi. I know what I'm doing. Na mimi urafiki, mimi nimetengeneza na watu wa mlima hii. Sio urafiki ya siku 2, 3 ama 4. Na mimi naelewa mtu asiniletee vita yake alete kati yangu na watu wa mlima. Mimi I know how to work with the people of Mulima.
Tempers flared after Nyandarua Senator John Methu openly told President Ruto he does not fear him and only recognizes Gachagua as the people's deputy president, prompting Kinangop MP Kwenya Thuku to try and restrain him.
Lakini hata kama ninakuheshimu Mheshimiwa Rais, jambo moja tu ujue, nakuheshimu lakini mimi sikuogopi. Hata unipige, hata univuruge, hata ufanye nini Mheshimiwa Kwenya? Kwani senator wa hapa ni nani?
Gachagua, who received loud cheers from mourners, urged the crowd to respect the president ahead of his address, remarks that appeared to arc the head of state.
Kwa hivyo nataka kutoa mwelekeo kama kiongozi wa jamii. Nisisikie ngwe. Nisisikie nini? Rais akifika hapa aongee, asikizwe, amalize, aondoke. Tumekubaliana?
Mimi siombewi ruhusa mahali popote Kenya. Mimi ni rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. And I will go any place and I will do everything as the President of the Republic of Kenya. And I am not going to ask for permission from anybody, whoever you are. Siwezi.
The former deputy president further challenged President Ruto to stop branding him a tribalist, terming the label an insult to the Mount Kenya region, drawing a sharp response from the president.
Sisi tukikuchagua, wewe huku unaitwa Kamau, huku unaitwa Joroge, ulikuwa unaitwa William Kipchirchir Arap Ruto. Si ndio? Na tukaupatia kura ze. Wewe unasimama juu ya gari ukusema sisi ni wa kabila, unatuumiza kwa roho. Na kuomba from today, my brother William Ruto, ukienda kwa Wajaluo, hapana tukana sisi ati sisi ni wa kabila.
Hatuwezi kukubali wale watu ambao wanatuhubiria ukabila na chuki na migawanyiko. You have no space in the Republic of Kenya. You cannot. Hamuwezi kuja kutuambia ya kwamba mimi sina vita, mimi naelewa nilipigiwa kura na watu wa mlima.
The bitter exchange spilled over into Gashagua's recent attacks in church by goons and the police, with Gachagua demanding an apology from President Ruto. The president, however, sidestepped the demand and instead invited a section of the clergy to State House, while reaffirming his support for the PCEA church. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, who witnessed the heated exchanges over the Mount Kenya supremacy battle, Gashagua's impeachment, and the 2027 race, called for calm, Gachagua attacking Kindiki over his recent remarks over the upcoming by-election in the constituency.
We put down political temperatures to allow mourning because we have a lot of opportunities to do politics outside the...
Professor Kindiki, kuna pahali umetukosea kama jamii. Hii jamii yetu tuko na heshima na mtu yote ameaga dunia. Na sisi hatuwezi kuongea mambo ya urithi kabla hajazikwa. Umefanya makosa huko Tharaka kuongea mambo ya by-election kama Kiaraho hajazikwa.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula was also drawn into the fray, with Gachagua accusing him of running parliament like a UDA youth winger. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Indeed, a dramatic political showdown unfolded today at the requiem mass of the late Ol-Kalou MP David Kearaho after former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua launched a fierce and unrelenting attack on National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, right in front of the President William Ruto. And as Mike Kagwongo now reports, in what quickly turned from mourning to a political standoff, Gachagua accused Ichung'wah of betrayal, deception and plotting chaos, escalating tensions in the Mount Kenya region.
It was meant to be a moment of mourning, quiet reflection for a fallen leader. But inside the requiem mass, the atmosphere shifted suddenly, sharply into a charged political theater.
Nimwarike ndugu yetu former deputy Rigathi Gachagua.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua rose, composed but visibly resolute, and launched a blistering onslaught against National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, standing just meters from President William Ruto in their first public encounter since his dramatic exit from office. Gachagua delivered his warning, cold and direct.
Hao vijana yako rais, nilikuambia kabla hatujakosana kabisa. Nikakwambia hao vijana utembea na hawa watakuweka kwa shimo. Hawa akina Ichung'wah nilikuambia wataweka kwa shimo.
A statement that cut through the silence, accusing the president's inner circle of leading him into political ruin. Then came the sting, deeply rooted in the politics of the mountain.
I told you that betrayal is not forgiven among our people. You chose to listen to Kimani Ichung'wah. Sasa hii jamii imekukataa. Na nilikuwa nimekuambia.
Majority Leader.
On Tuesday, Ichung'wah had opened an attack on Gachagua at the floor of the House, just days before Gachagua holds rallies in Kikuyu constituency on Saturday.
I know he plans, and I have information, he has already mobilized goons from Githurai. He has mobilized goons from as far as Nyeri to come and loot in Kikuyu. I want to tell you, we will not allow you to loot the businesses of the people of Kikuyu.
Tafadhali rais, umwambie Kimani Ichung'wah tunaenda Kikuyu Saturday. amepanga wakora kupiga watu, kuchoma manyumba, kuharibu biashara. Mwambie Kimani Ichung'wa awache hiyo ujinga na utoto, umepitwa na wakati. Ne turaigwa oru muno mundu uyu arutete mbeca akanengera Ichung'wa akaheana ke makahurage kuwi wenzao.
But President William Ruto did not shy away from defending his allies.
The young leaders in Kenya, do not be intimidated. Musitishwe na mtu yeyote ati atawafanya.
And he did not just stop there. Gachagua mocked earlier claims that he will fade away, instead positioning himself as a force still shaping the region's political direction.
Sasa huyu Ichung'wa alikuambia atirigiji atasaulika baada ya wiki mbili. Sasa ni miaka ngapi? Create peace with this community. Tafuta urafiki na hii jamii. Usisikize hii watoto wanakuweka kwa shimo.
But just as the tension peaked, the unexpected happened. Gachagua introduced a group of loyal MPs, his political lieutenants, right before the president. In a moment that stunned the congregation, the lawmakers rose together, burst into song, voices echoing in a bold show of unity and defiance before quietly taking their seats. A requiem momentarily transformed into a political spectacle. In a quick response on his social media account, Ichung'wa would later share this piece of paper, perhaps mocking the number of times Gachagua mentioned him during his speech. And now, with lens drawn and accusations flying, Kimani Ichung'wa finds himself firmly under siege as the battle for Mount Kenya's political soul intensifies. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Away from politics, long-distance drivers were Tuesday evening forced to look for alternative fueling stations outside Nairobi CBD. A spot check by TV47 within the city shows that while some fuel stations did not have fuel, others had put a limit to the amount of fuel a driver could fill. Stanley Nyaringita visited different fueling stations and now paints the countrywide picture.
Tuesday evening, drivers of these 14-seater matatus opted to park their vehicles at this petrol station.
When you drive into this Total Energies at OTC, the first thing that the teller here actually tells you is there is no fuel.
This situation has caused drivers like Stephen Kariuki to drive kilometers away in search of fuel as he prepares his journey to Nyahururu.
Kama kwetu pale ya Nyahururu hakuna pahali iko mafuta. Sasa tumeambiwa pahali mtu anakuta mafuta unajaza tank in case mpaka pahali itapata mahali ingine.
Mafuta ya petroli peke yake ndio inapatikana. Diesel hakuna.
A spot check in different parts of the country reveals a similar script. Long queues at fueling stations.
Imagine zaidi ningekuwa mahali pengine but bado tuko laini sijafikiwa na tafuta hiyo mafuta.
Tuliambiwa hakuna shortage ya mafuta. Mutapata mafuta, musikuwa na wasiwasi. Lakini saa hii tumepanga mafuta tangu asubuhi mpaka saa hii bado sijafikia na sijui kama nitafikia.
Like before nikuja hapa nipate mafuta, I've traveled to more than 20 stations, petrol stations na bado.
Increased fuel prices.
Mahali gari yangu imezimikia na uziwa kibuyu shilingi 200, mafuta nayo niweze kununua ya 400.
Kila mtu gari jana alikuwa pikipiki anapewa 200. Gari kubwa ama gari hizi za kawaida 1000 na hiyo iwezi tupeleka mahali.
And frustrations from Kenyans, with some accusing fuel stations of hoarding the fuel.
Na mahali tumeona watu na petroli mingi hapa town jana. Juzi gari ilimwaga mafuta. Lakini jana vile walisema labda mafuta itaongeza bei, tukaona ikifungwa. Inafungwa tukiangalia na macho yetu.
This as the Energy Committee in the National Assembly as Wednesday warned fuel business persons against hoarding fuel.
Hatia wewe kuchukua ukingoja bei ipande, kwa sababu tunataka kuwaomba ya kwamba waachilie hiyo mafuta ndio watu waweze. Alafu pia tuombe wananchi wa Kenya ya kwamba tusiwe tuna panic.
Affected residents in different parts of the country now fear that the fuel shortage will have a ripple effect to the prices of basic household goods as well as fare prices. Stanley Nyaringita, TV47.
And pressure is mounting on the government over the integrity of the country's petroleum supply chain. Members of Parliament have summoned Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi to shed light on how substandard fuel entered into the Kenyan market. Sheila Chelangat has more.
Energy CS Opiyo Wandayi, alongside key players in the petroleum chain, is expected to appear before the National Assembly's Committee on Energy on Thursday.
The CS will outline the measures being undertaken to stabilize the petroleum market, including the application and sustainability of the fuel price stabilization mechanism.
The summons are coming at a time when concerns are emerging over potential fuel shortages in parts of the country. As of March 30th, Kenya had 16 days of super petrol, 19 days of diesel, and 49 days of jet fuel. Wandayi is expected to address the origin of the alleged contaminated fuel, possible breaches in procurement procedures under the G2G framework, and failures within the regulatory system.
The integrity of Kenya petroleum supply chain is not negotiable.
On Tuesday, the government rejected the 60,000-ton cargo of super petrol sourced by One Petroleum Limited outside G2G framework. Energy CS Opiyo Wandayi directed the oil marketing firms not to pay the invoices they received. The unauthorized super petrol imports would have raised prices by 14 shillings. One Petroleum Limited said that in March, it was one of the 4 bidders that successfully responded to an emergency request issued by the Kenya Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. Even so, the Energy Committee has reassured the public that Treasury data are showing adequate fuel reserves.
There's no oil in the Middle East, so the country should be up and beat and hopeful and optimistic that we are going to have enough supply and delivery, as read by our chairman.
The parliamentary probe now adds a new layer of scrutiny to a scandal that continues to shake Kenya's energy sector. This comes as the Directorate of Criminal Investigation intensifies its probe into 5 top energy officials arrested in connection with this saga. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Meanwhile, Kenyan Pipeline Company has assured Kenyans that there is sufficient quality fuel in all its terminals and depots. According to the acting managing director, Pius Mwendwa, KPC operates more than 1,300 kilometers of pipeline network linking the port of Mombasa to key inland depots in Kipevu oil storage, Kenya Petroleum refineries, Nairobi, Nakuru, Eldoret and Kisumu. Mwendwa has further stated that this network is supported by modern storage facilities with a cumulative capacity of over 1 billion litres. This comes as motorists in different parts of the country have lamented on the fuel shortage, with most forced to wait in long queues for the commodity. And to a dramatic story there where shocking CCTV footage shows Vihiga Senator Godfrey Osotsi being brutally attacked by a gang at Java House outlet in Kisumu City. The senator, who was engaged in a conversation with a lady at the time, was viciously struck on the head many times, leaving him bleeding copiously. According to Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, Osotsi was attacked after a visit to the barber shop. Although Brenda has more.
For Vihiga Senator Godfrey Osotsi, Wednesday may have seemed like any other ordinary day. He was having a conversation with a young lady at one of the Java Hotel outlets in Kisumu's Acacia area, and suddenly, according to this CCTV footage, a group of about 15 young men are seen approaching the senator. One of them appears to be scanning the store while the others engage in conversation with the senator and his companion. The senator's companion is seen fleeing in fear, leaving her phone and even Senator Osotsi at the mercy of the gang. The young men then proceed to launch a brutal assault on the senator, hammering his head as he fights to defend himself in vain. In the chaos, even moving a single step ahead seems impossible. The CCTV footage captures the rest of the gang hanging back, leaving Senator Osotsi at the mercy of just two of the young men. Without mercy, one after the other, they strike him with brutal blows to the head, escalating the violence of the attack. The footage further shows the young men beating the senator until he begins to gush out blood. Watch closely as the floor, initially spotless, is later covered in bloodstains after the senator's failed attempt to escape. The intricacies of the attack are still unknown. However, according to Nairobi Senator and one of the leaders of the Linda Mwananchi faction, Edwin Sifuna, Osotsi was attacked after getting a haircut in Kisumu City. The senator has since confirmed that Godfrey Osotsi has been airlifted to Nairobi for further medical treatment. Modhoni Brenda for TV47.
Now, former Cabinet Secretary Raphael Tuju has been charged at the Kibera Law Courts with, I should say, giving false information to a police officer on his alleged fear of abduction, a charge he has since denied and pleaded not guilty.
Are you okay standing for a short while? All right, just stand up so that
According to the charge sheet presented in court, Tuju allegedly reported that he had been abducted in Karen on March 1st, 2026. Claims the prosecution say were false.
I've not heard the defense ask for statements on the documents that we intend to use in this case. Therefore, we offer.
Through his lawyers, Tuju asked the court to release him on bail, arguing the offense is a misdemeanor. The defense also requested the court to direct the OCPD Karen to issue them with a P3 form claiming he sustained injuries while in custody. The prosecution did not oppose his release on cash bail, but urged the defense to formally apply regarding a vehicle linked to the case. The court was told investigations must first confirm whether the vehicle is being held as an exhibit.
Before I give directions on the way forward, Mr. Oonge, yes, I want to request that you allow me.
The court is set to determine the next steps following the plea, as the case draws public and political attention. For TV47, I'm Linda Alela.
Now, 3 people, including a 12-year-old child, have been confirmed dead, while 6 others were rescued after a building collapsed and trapped several individuals in the high-rise area of Kibra. The building that was part of a government project aimed at upgrading informal settlements. According to witnesses, some people were inside the structure removing their belongings, while others were reportedly attempting to steal metal materials before the building suddenly gave way. Rescue teams, including the Red Cross, responded quickly and began efforts to save those trapped beneath the rubble. The bodies of the deceased have been taken to the mortuary, while the injured were rushed to Mbagathi Hospital for treatment. Residents are urging the government to grant them time before continuing demolitions to prevent further tragedies.
Tumepoteza hata wengine walikuwa wapita njia. Kwanza huyu mtoto mmoja alikuwa anapita tu, yeye hakuwa kwa shughuli, yeye alikuwa anapita.
Shughuli ya kubomoa ikaishia hapo, tukaanza kuokoa wenye wameanguka chini. Tukawajaribu kuwaokoa kadhaa wenye tumeokoa, lakini sasa kitu ile tukasirisha kabisa ni ati rescue team wenye wameletwa wanaleta zimamoto, unaona? Na ni nyumba imeanguka, unaona? Hiyo hadi hai make sense.
Government I evacuate watu kwa hii space kwa ajili kuna emergency, ina evacuate kwa ajili kuna project development inafaa kufanyika. Na hii development being that ni mass eviction, wanaweza peana 90 days watu wahame in a better way, but si 21 kama sasa tumeambiwa by 23rd tunafaa kuhama.
All were men. We only had one of the injuries was a minor aged around 12 years who broke his leg and arm. Rescue work started. We commend the National Disaster Management Unit, the Red Cross, the County Fire Department, and the National Police Service in general. They've been here coordinating the rescue work, and it has been going on very well.
Now, an Australian national is seeking justice after he was allegedly defrauded over 77 million shillings in a sophisticated gold scam orchestrated by a cross-border syndicate operating between Dubai, Tanzania, and Nairobi. The businessman, Debarl, was lured into the deal between October 2025 and March 2026 to purchase over 590 kilograms of gold, only for the consignment to never materialize. Investigations revealed that the suspects used staged mining sites and a fake smelting operations in Kilimani, order gaining his trust and facilitating payments through bank transfers and cryptocurrency payments. Michelle Mwangi has more.
An Australian national based in Dubai traveled to Nairobi in February 2026. A business trip that was meant to see him purchase over 590 kilograms of gold in Nairobi, only for the consignment never to materialize. The Australian investor Andrew Adel Gabala, who is also the director at Sakina Commodities, a Dubai-based firm licensed to import gold from Africa to the Middle East, had come in search of gold, pursuing a deal that will soon unravel into a costly deception.
Yeah.
His journey began earlier in October 2025, where he met a man who presented himself as a wealthy and well-connected American investor. The man, identified as Marshall Morrison, had appeared convincing, not just in words, but in action, before eventually introducing him to a Kenyan associate, Duncan Okaka Okonji, who claimed to have access to large gold supplies. Okonji had claimed he could facilitate the supply of 590 kilograms of gold d'or, allegedly ready for export to a refinery associated with royal interest in Dubai or a consignee in Oman.
And we came here to purchase a consignment of 590 kilos of gold and to also receive 10 kilos of security for making an insurance payment to Maloba Law Advocates.
To reinforce the credibility of the deal, the syndicate had arranged for Gabala to travel to Tanzania, where he had been taken to locations in Mwanza, presented to him as an active gold mining site.
We attended a site visit with a mining group called Group 9, which is a collective. Very lovely people. We saw some impressive open pit artisanal operations and some underground operations in Mwanza.
Following the Tanzania trip, the investor flew to Nairobi on a travel visa and was taken to this house in Kilimani, where the alleged smelting process is done. The operation had involved gold in both nugget and bar form, presented as proof of an active supply chain. Having been convinced enough, the final phase of the transaction began to be executed under what appeared to be formal and legally structured arrangements. Between February and early March 2026, Gabala had entered agreements with Business Enterprise Limited, Mohamed Faraji from Tanzania, and Conrad Molaba of Conrad Law Advocates LLC. This led to the transfer of a total of $600,000, an equivalent of 78 million Kenya shillings, through a combination of bank transfers and cryptocurrency payments.
4 kilos, second 3 kilos.
Conrad Maloba, through his law firm, was the key player tasked with receiving Gabala's funds and releasing them to a supposed first-class insurance company to cover the 590 kilograms of gold consignment. On 26 February 2026, Maloba allegedly attempted to defraud Gabala by claiming 990,000 USD payment, which investigations revealed as a briefcase company under Kevin Kialo Musimi.
And when we requested a proof of insurance certificate. We were given a certificate which said a payment had been made to an underwriter, but there was actually no payment made to an insurance company.
According to the agreement between Gabala and Okonji, it was agreed that 10 kilograms of gold would be presented as collateral, pending completion of the transaction. The collateral was stored inside this storage unit located at the Sarit Center, where it was stored in separate boxes, which the investor alleges that he had not been given keys to the individual boxes containing the supposed gold.
We have a collateral of what they say is 10 kilos gold. We're not sure whether this is genuine gold or not.
However, investigations later indicated that the gold may never have undergone any formal assay and no verifiable ownership documents had been presented. Further scrutiny had revealed that the purported insurance arrangement had also been questionable.
And the collateral which we were given was actually never smelted, so it was never proven that the brass or gold-colored bars we given were real.
Investigators later suspected that the entire setup had been staged, forming part of a broader deception strategy designed to secure the investors' confidence.
It seems that this is a trend. These frauds are happening nearly every month. The same premises are being used, the same individuals are being used.
When the promised shipment of gold had failed to materialize and inconsistencies began to emerge, Gabala reported the matter to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, which saw an arrest made on the 24th of March 2026, where one of the key suspects, Duncan Okaka Okonji, was arrested and subsequently arraigned at the Milimani Law Courts. Okonji was charged with conspiracy to defraud contrary to Section 317 of the Penal Code. He denied the charge and was released on a bond of 5 million Kenya shillings with 2 other contact persons.
When the 590 kilo consignment didn't arrive in Oman, then we knew this is all a scam. And when we reported it, it's strange that the very next day, one person is arrested and from my understanding released on bail and bond the next day very quickly.
This case has since indicated that there are striking similarities to another high-profile incident reported earlier in the year, where an American national had also been lured into Kenya with promises of a large gold consignment, only to lose approximately 37 million Kenya shillings in a similarly staged operation. The striking similarities in both cases points a clear picture of a well-coordinated and sophisticated syndicate, one that has been designed to fraud international investors. Michelle Mwangi, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, time is dialing up for a station break. But before we do so, I'll be remiss if I don't show you tomorrow's publication of a Star Fresh Off the Press. This is what you'll be waking up to on the front page of the publication. Inside the fuel saga, how Kebs Wendai emerged unscathed is what is on the front page of the publication. As you can see there, documents show CS was to a large extent excluded from decision-making. The story is well fleshed out for you on page 4 and 5 of the publication. And you can see related pictures there, just as we're in that particular story by you of the fuel looming crisis here in the country. It says energy crisis. A petrol station attendant fuel tuk-tuk at Triton petrol station near Kenya Ferry in Mombasa, also county, that is yesterday. And we have on the right an empty petrol station along Jogoo Road in Nairobi. That is a biting reality. Also, ex-cabinet secretary Tuju denies charges in false information case. Is another story that you want to follow. You can put tails on it on page 9 of the publication. Now, Kenya and other global south countries seek fair share in new pandemic agreement is on page 2. We scroll up now to see what we have on the teaser on top there, and is all what was happening today at the burial. That is trading barbs. Ruto Gachagua tear each other in battle for Mount Kenya. This story well fleshed out for you on page 6 of the publication. All right, it's time for us now to take that break. Don't go away, much more on the other side of the break.
Coming up after the break. Leaders at the Africa Urban Forum call for a shift from a policy dialogue to concrete implementation backed by innovative financing.
Welcome back. Now, the contents of the late Nyeri Governor James Nderitu Gachagwa's will has now been made public, offering fresh insights into how his estate was structured, distributed and managed. The will, dated February 17, 2017, clearly outlines beneficiaries, properties and financial obligations, while also detailing amendments personally made by the deceased before his passing. Faith Wangari has more.
The 9-page document identifies 23 beneficiaries, including members of the immediate family, his mother, wives and children, and appoints 3 executors to oversee the administration of the estate. At the center of the long-running dispute are allegations raised by his first wife, Margaret Nyokabi, alongside some of her children who claim they were sidelined in the distribution of the estate. The matter escalated to the point of seeking intervention from President William Ruto.
A character who has gone to manipulate the will of his brother to disenfranchise, to disinherit widows and orphans, and he wants to give us a lecture about stealing. You cold-blooded thief, you cold-blooded thief, stealing from your own brother, stealing from orphans.
The will also reflects direct input from the deceased, who reviewed and amended their draft, adding key details such as property references, beneficiaries and asset records. These changes were handwritten, countersigned and initiated on each page, affirming their authenticity. Properties were distributed directly, with the current family home placed under the trust for the first wife, Margaret Nyokabi, while 2 additional houses in Karen and Nyeri were allocated to the second wife. The ancestral land was shared equally between his 2 eldest sons, Kenneth Gachagua and Joseph Kariuki, as shares in Muiga were allocated to his brother, Rigathi Gachagua.
My brother had a complicated family, so he did a will that took care of everybody so that there is peace. And there has been peace for 9 years mpaka Kasongo ameingilia. Nimemwambia Kasongo, tafadhali, hiyo wili ya Gachagua usipigane naye. Take time and read it. Itakusaidia mbele.
The estate, however, was heavily indebted, owing approximately 1.7 billion shillings to various creditors. These liabilities have since been settled through property sales and estate income following negotiations that saw reductions in interest and penalties. Among the assets sold were Olive Gardens, Vipingo Beach, Kiangwachi Property and Queensgate, transactions that were approved during family meeting held in 2023. Faith Wangari, TV47.
Africa's urban population is projected to hit 1.4 billion by 2050, intensifying pressure on housing, infrastructure and governance systems across the continent. Leaders at the Africa Urban Forum called for a shift, from policy dialogue to concrete implementation backed by innovative financing. Kenya underscored the urgency of coordinated data planning and investment to transform cities into engines of economic growth.
At the opening of AUF2 in Nairobi, CS Alice Wahome said hosting over 10,000 delegates reflects Africa's growing commitment to sustainable urbanization, with housing and urban development now central to economic transformation agendas.
Across Africa, our cities are growing at an unprecedented pace, and this rapid growth brings both immense opportunity and complex challenges.
The task before us, therefore, is not merely to manage urban growth, but to harness it deliberately so that it becomes a driver of economic and social progress.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi emphasized the need to transition from discussions to delivery, warning that rapid urban growth, housing deficits, and expanding informal settlements are colliding with weak governance systems and climate risks.
Have we got a clear roadmap on how we are going to fund the urban agenda?
There's a limit to taxation. In Kenya, we have gone through a very interesting episode.
He notes that while taxation has limits, highlighting Kenya's contested affordable housing program, innovative financing will be essential to meet demand, estimated at 100 million housing units needed by 2030 in the continent. Hibak Said for TV47.
A postmortem examination on the body of Bernard Cheruiyot, a 33-year-old man who died while in police cell at Keringate Police Station in Nakuru County, has revealed that Cheruiyot was beaten to death. Mike Chalo has more.
A postmortem conducted at Olongoruene mortuary by pathologist Titus Ngulungu revealed that nearly every part of Bernard Cheruiyot's body showed signs of severe beating and torture. According to the pathologist, the injuries were consistent with assault and not self-inflicted harm, as earlier alleged. Additionally, his hands and legs bore marks indicating he had been tied up.
Amefura kichwa, alafu mwili yote, kwa mikono, kwa mgongo, kwa matako na lower lips. Alafu wakati nimeangalia huko chini kama alikuwa amefungwa na kitu kama panga, kama kamba. Alafu wakati nimefungua kichwa nimekuta brain imeumia vibaya, ambaye tunaitanga contusion.
Cheruiyot, 33 years of age, was arrested on March 27th and detained at Keringate Police Station in Kuresoi South Sub-County. His family was informed of his death 2 days later on March 29th.
Sasa tulifika huko Keringate, walituambia bwana yako ako huko hospitali. Tulifika huko hospitali, bwana yangu alikuwa amekufa.
Inaonekana alipigwa sana kichwa. Ilikuwa na severe injuries.
Activists and the family are now calling on the Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) to arrest the officers who are on duty the night of the incident as the probe continues.
Kufanya uchunguzi isiwe hata hawa pengine ambao wanastakiwa ati ndio walimpiga iwe ni cover up.
Nataka uchunguzi ifanywe haraka haraka nijue nini liua bwana yangu huko Keringate.
Mike Chelo, TV47.
Let's take a look at business right now, where the Kenya Seed Company has been lauded for producing sufficient seeds for the planting season, easing Kenya's reliance on costly food imports. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said the country spends 500 billion shillings annually on imports, a gap now being addressed through increased seed production and distribution. Chairperson Purity Girisi noted output has risen sharply, with projections of up to 50 million kilograms by mid-year. NCBA has launched a new digital banking and protection solutions targeting Kenyans abroad under its 2026 Diaspora Market Activation Program. The initiative enables fully digital accounts opening and remote investments access, alongside a diaspora last expense cover developed with Badview Micro Insurance, offering up to 3 million shillings in repatriation support. The rollout begins in Australia as part of NCBA's expanded global diaspora outreach strategy this year. All right, let's look at the sports field right now.
Brookside Term 1 Games highlights brought to you by Brookside Dairy. Brookside Dairy, committed to nurturing sports talent.
Momentum is building at the Brookside National Secondary School Games, with today marking day 2 of the game being held in Kisumu. Here is a report by Duncan Mutai.
Day 2 of the Brookside Secondary School games, and heavyweights have tried to separate themselves from the underdogs.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And we are looking at upsets. Yeah? Tables might turn from the look of things. And even previous winners.
The first time nimefika hapa hivi, hapa hivi 15th, tumefika hapa hivi nationals, ndio? Yeah. For the first time. Na tuko young girls, ndio?
Yeah. For girls rugby 15th category, it is not business as usual.
Wase wa Guoko tunaamusha tu. Wako wapi wase wangu wa Guoko?
Kinale have announced their superiority after beating Paul Aris 46-0.
Tunataka tutengeneze clean sheet. Tuende huko tupige watu, si ndio?
A warning has been sent to Nairobi champions Bagadi girls.
Hawa Nairobi sisi kama watu wa Western tunakuja ugali na mchele azingiani.
In the boys category, Upper Hill are through to the semis with a game to go, while St. Mary's Siala will know their fate tomorrow. In basketball, newcomers Barchedo have been welcomed to the national stage.
We have lost to Kayativi, unfortunately, but we still have hopes that we will be able to play favorably against Ikutha and still make it to the semi-finals.
While defending champions Butere still remains the team to beat, they stand Northeastern Region champions Takaba.
We are coming for them again, yeah.
In the boys category, Dagoretti have faced Lukenya in the clash of the championship. This time round, Garangdeng bagging the bragging rights with a 79-62 victory. Nyakach girls, Moi girls Kamusinga, St. Joseph's have all bagged a win in handball. Day 2 of the National Secondary School Games, and heavyweights have continued to flex their muscles, with some booking their slot into the semis, while others will have to wait until tomorrow for the final group matches. My name is Duncan Mutua.
The Australia, India and Malawi women's national football team have already touched down in the country ahead of the highly anticipated FIFA Women's Series 2026 set to take place at Nyayo National Stadium from April the 11th to 15th. The tournament, organized by FIFA, aims to foster global unity and elevate the women's game by bringing together emerging football nations. Hosts Harambee Starlets will headline the competition alongside India, while Malawi will play against Australia in what promises to be a thrilling showcase of international talent. Starlets head coach Beldin Odemba is expected to use the tournament as a crucial build-up platform for the upcoming 2025 WAFCON, as Kenya looks to sharpen its squad against diverse opposition on home soil.
First of all, to say the least, that we're playing the FIFA series at home. We are playing with good teams, teams well placed, and a team like Malawi that is also looking forward to see what the team looks like, as they also try to get ready for the WAFCON, because they qualified for the WAFCON for the first time.
All right. Just to attend a reminder that Cape Media is the official partner for the tournament that will be showcasing from that date that is given. All right. Kenya National Under-17 women's team, the Rising Starlets, have intensified preparations ahead of their FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup qualifiers against Namibia. Rising Starlets will face Namibia in a two-legged tie, with the first leg scheduled for April the 11th away before Kenya host the return match on April the 18th. The fixtures represent a crucial stage in the qualification pathway as the team targets progression to the next round, with the opening legs away from home Kenya will look to manage the tie strategically across both matches before returning for the decisive second leg as they continue their push for a place at the global tournament.
Brookside Term 1 Games highlights brought to you by Brookside Dairy. Brookside Dairy, committed to nurturing sports talent.
All right, it's inching up to 10 o'clock. We want to take a short break right now. And when we circle back, we'll be joined by the following guests, just taking a crucial look at the state of the economy. We'll be joined by James Mureu, who's the chairman of the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority. Also, we'll be joined by Bill Okero, who is a political economist, a former senator of Mandera. Also, we'll be joined by Dr. Benson Makali Mulu, who is a member of Parliament, Kitui Central. And of course, that is promising to be a very interesting, incisive conversation regarding the state of economy currently with the fuel crisis that is looming on the horizon. What does it really portend for the country? The ballooning Kenyan public debt, and also the physical reality as we aspire for a physical consolidation path that is going to make sure that the economy stabilizes. We take a short break. Don't go away.